The story of Turkic peoples stretches across continents and centuries, from the steppes of Central Asia to the shores of the Mediterranean. Their languages, cultures, and empires have woven together trade, faith, and power in patterns that still shape modern politics. Today, a new chapter is unfolding as Turkic states navigate resources, identity, and alliances. This film asks, what does the future hold for a world of shared language but varied interests? We will examine history, economics, leadership, and the geopolitical tug-of-war that surrounds them. The answer lies not in simple unity, but in complex cooperation and competition. Turkic identity formed through nomadic mobility, confederations, and powerful empires like the Gökturks and later the Ottomans. Language families and shared cultural motifs created a sense of connection despite geographic spread. Silk Road interactions brought trade and ideas, making Turkic peoples central players between East and West. Over centuries, conversions to Islam, state formation, and migrations reshaped boundaries and loyalties. This layered past explains both the cohesion and fragmentation we see today. Understanding history is essential to predicting political trajectories. The contemporary Turkic world includes nation-states from Turkey to Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan to Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. Each state carries a unique post-Soviet or Ottoman legacy that influences policy and identity. Turkey often positions itself as a cultural and political hub, while Central Asian republics balance national sovereignty with regional pressures. Energy resources, pipelines, and transport corridors make these countries strategically valuable to great powers. Their domestic politics, from authoritarian stability to fragile democracies, shape external openings. The map is thus one of shared heritage but divergent interests. Strong personalities shape the Turkic agenda. Erdogan in Turkey, Aliyev in Azerbaijan, Tokayev in Kazakhstan, Mirziyoyev in Uzbekistan, Japarov in Kyrgyzstan, and Berdi Muhammadov in Turkmenistan. Their visions range from pan-Turkic rhetoric to focused national modernization projects. Some seek soft power through cultural diplomacy and language initiatives, while others prioritize economic growth and security. Leadership styles and domestic constraints determine how far cooperative projects can go. Personal ties and summits create momentum, but institutional depth is often thin. This gap between leader-driven initiatives and systemic capacity will define future success. Energy resources, oil, gas, and minerals anchor the geopolitical weight of several Turkic states, especially Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan. Investment in pipelines and export routes links these countries to Europe and Asia, but also brings dependency and leverage. Turkey positions itself as a hub for trade and transit, seeking to connect markets through infrastructure projects. Trade diversification, digital economies, and port investments are emerging priorities for younger leaders. Yet, unequal resource distribution fuels rivalries and differing foreign policy choices. Economic interdependence exists, but it does not automatically create political unity. Great powers remain central to the Turkic future. Russia maintains security links and historical influence. China brings investment through the Belt and Road, and the West offers trade and political partnerships. Each actor has different incentives and degrees of influence across the region. Some Turkic states balance these powers, leveraging one against another to maximize sovereignty and investment. Others lean more heavily toward a single patron for security guarantees or economic lifelines. This balancing act complicates any pan-Turkic alignment and creates strategic competition on Turkic soil. The interplay of external influence will be decisive for regional autonomy and policy choices. Where institutions are weak, personal networks and presidential agendas drive foreign policy and regional initiatives. Summit declarations and leader photos often make headlines, but follow-through depends on civil service, legal frameworks, and funding. Many Turkic collaborations remain ad hoc, dependent on charisma and diplomatic timing rather than durable treaties. Building cross-border institutions for trade, education, and security would insulate cooperation from personality shifts. Yet, institutionalizing cooperation requires compromises some leaders resist. The tension between quick wins and lasting architecture is a core political struggle. Language and culture are powerful connectors. Shared Turkic roots facilitate cultural exchanges, media, and educational programs. Turkey's cultural outreach and universities promote Turkish language and media across the Turkic world. Cultural festivals, scholarship programs, and language institutes create grassroots ties beyond high politics. Yet, local identities and dialects matter. Cultural unity is neither automatic nor uniform. Soft power can build goodwill, but it does not erase political or economic frictions. Sustainable influence requires respect for diversity within the Turkic family. Territorial disputes and ethnic tensions can quickly derail broader cooperation, as recent conflicts have shown. The South Caucasus and parts of Central Asia remain vulnerable to sudden escalation. External patronage can inflame local disputes or help mediate them, depending on interests. Refugee flows, border incidents, and competing security arrangements raise the stakes for regional stability. For Turkic cooperation to advance, conflict management mechanisms are indispensable. Without them, the region risks intermittent crises that fragment any political project. Physical and digital connectivity can transform economies and political ties, from rail corridors to fiber optic cables. Projects that shorten transit times between Asia and Europe increase strategic value for transit states. Digital cooperation in e-government, payments, and secure communications can create trust and interdependence. However, infrastructure projects are expensive, politicized, and vulnerable to external leverage. Ensuring transparent financing and local capacity building is crucial for long-term benefits. Connectivity must be paired with equitable governance to avoid deepening dependencies. A young, increasingly urban population defines much of the Turkic world's future potential and pressures. Education and employment opportunities determine whether talent fuels innovation at home or leads to brain drain. Social media and cross-border cultural flows create a new generation that feels transnational connections more easily than previous ones. Governments that invest in skills, entrepreneurship, and transparent institutions will capture this demographic dividend. Failure to address youth aspirations risks instability and outward migration. The shape of future elites will be a decisive factor in political alignment and economic modernization. Several plausible futures exist: deeper institutional cooperation, episodic leader-led alliances, fragmentation under external pressure, or economic integration without political union. One optimistic path sees coordinated infrastructure, energy sharing, and cultural institutions bolstering stability and influence. A pessimistic path involves great power rivalry, exacerbating local conflicts and economic dependencies. Most likely is a mixed outcome, pockets of strong cooperation alongside persistent competition and external balancing. Policy choices by leaders and the growth of institutions will steer which scenario prevails. The Turkic world's future will be shaped as much by domestic reform as by international diplomacy. The Turkic world is neither a single bloc nor an inevitable empire. It is a complex mosaic of shared roots and competing visions. Leadership, institutions, resources, and external players all interact to shape outcomes in unpredictable ways. Vigilant diplomacy, inclusive institutions, and investment in people will determine whether the region becomes a constructive bridge or a battleground for influence. Observers should watch infrastructure deals, security pacts, and cultural initiatives for signals of real integration. For citizens, the stakes are everyday prosperity, rights, and stability. The coming decade will test whether common language and history can be translated into a sustainable, cooperative future.